Hello, all. Project Wargaming here with a update on a new campaign that I'm starting with my dad. We finished up the naval campaign, and so now we're moving on to an American Civil War campaign. I wrote up the rules. Something fairly simple, has a lot of similarities to kind of the naval campaign, at least how it goes through. There's going to be 7 turn cycles or phases, I guess, in the turn. So first one is event cards. So we're going to have a very similar thing where in the last campaign we had naval admiralty cards that you would draw here. These are cards that you can use in the various phases, and it gives you advantages, disadvantages. You can play it with your opponent. You can play it against your opponent. Kind of depends on what you want to do. But that's kind of the idea about that. And then we have weather, which will determine how fast you march or kind of what's going on. You have supply. So supply will be determined by where your supply depots are, and then also where your troops are and how many troops you have, and if you have enough supply there. That shouldn't be a huge part of the game, but one you want to pay attention to. Movement was a trickier one, trying to figure out kind of how fast movement in. I would say that it's still a little bit slow, but kind of historical, but I think it'll work out on the table. And then, of course, battle. Have a whole system on how we're going to figure out battles. And then also we have a whole system on unit records. So basically a turn is going to have each month we'll have 4 different weeks, and then the units can move during those weeks, and they move depending upon the size. So this would actually be all the troops that I have in my army to begin with. I have 4 corps. I think if everything was out on the table, which is never going to be, it would be like 218 infantry stands. But they're divided into divisions, of course, and then brigades, and then the cannons are scattered amongst the divisions and such. So these will be represented on the board. However, you won't have to put out like a brigade. You could actually just put out the division token if you wanted, or the corps token to move them around on the board. Depending, I imagine that we'll be maneuvering these guys at a division level. Each hex is going to represent roughly about 10 square miles. So a division seems about right, I guess. I don't know. Corps, you could easily fit a corps in there. Certainly mini corps, but as the more corps and the higher the troop capacity, then the harder it is for them to move. We do have some cavalry down here, and then the smallest thing is you can split one of your brigades into a detachment. So that's what I plan to do with my cavalry, at least at the beginning, to use those for scouting and to use those to kind of block certain areas, but mostly just for scouting and protecting my flanks from various things. So with that, then what we did was we came up with our units. So the way that we did that was we started just with the unit creation that's in the back of the new Fire and Fury book. It seems to work extremely well. It's not perfect. You have to modify it. You have to do some things to it. But basically, Dad and I just said, okay, we're gonna come up with 6 divisions to begin with, and we're gonna roll those out. Well, by the time that Dad finished rolling out his division, all his divisions and corps, and putting them into 2 corps, I split mine into 3 corps, and by the time that happened, he had like 230 some infantry stands, and I had just 131 because I rolled so terrible on my size rolls, and he rolled so well on his size rolls. So I always rolled like the lower half. I think the average size of my brigade was only 7 stands, and the average size of his was like 11. So it didn't take long for that to get completely out of whack. So I went ahead and rolled up another division or another corps with 3 divisions in it, and then kind of went from there. So now I'm at like 280 infantry stands to his 230. I have more cannon than him. I think I have like 29 cannon to his 19 cannon or 16 cannon. And then we both have about the same number of cavalry. But if you've never used this system in the back of the Fire and Fury book, it's really good. It gives you a very good base to work from, and you can modify from that. Like I said, we modified the size of the infantry troops and number of stands just because that's going to be the biggest thing to at least start the game fairly even. But you know, we didn't change anything when it came to rolling for exceptional leaders or rolling for our experience rating or our morale rating as well. We also didn't do any modifiers to our weapon rolls. We just used the Western Theater for our weapon rolls, and we used everything. We used mid-war information. The only exception to that is I didn't have any heavy rifled cannon on the board. So if I rolled a 10, then it was just a light rifled. So anyways, that's how we kind of worked our way through the thing. You can see here that I have written up my brigades and corps, so divisions here, and then brigades, and then batteries, and then I have all the pertinent information that we'll have, and then this will help keep track of current losses that I have in a battle, number of kills that I have in a battle, which will then give me battle honors to be able to upgrade my quality, and then just room for any notes that I might have. So that's how I kind of worked mine out. If you've never used the Fire and Fury rules to roll, this is how I typically do it. Roll for brigades, write out the number beside them. Roll for exceptional leaders, number of stands, the quality, the morale, and then the weapon type. So anyways, that worked pretty well, and so really starting to get excited about it. The one last thing that I did want to show you on how we're going to come up with actual battles, since each one of these hexes represents 10 square miles, you got to represent a smaller battle table. The battle table that we play on is 5 by 8, so pretty generous really for being able to play. But this is the other little thing that I came up with. This is just black tape that I cut in and put in squares. And then we have basically cards that we can throw out there. We'll just shuffle these decks up depending on the type of terrain hex that we're in. Shuffle it up and then just draw cards and put them in each one of this. And then we have rules to modify, take away, however you like to do that to give us the road, or I'm sorry, to give us the battle map. So and then from there we're going to use a similar thing as far as rolling for where we're coming in, what table edge, and then also we're going to use poker chips, kind of like what Too Fat Alardes does with their games, where you move it out and then that gives you the battle line, and then from there you set up behind that battle line. So I think that'll get us into fighting pretty quickly, and then also the number of daylight turns is determined down here depending on the month that we're in, and then also we'll also roll for when the battle actually starts. You know, it's not going to start just right at the crack of dawn. It might start like midday or something. So that'll be a little bit different. But anyways, I thought that would be just an interesting thing for you guys. We are getting our troops all together, getting all of our data written down, and then we'll probably start playing out our maneuvers here on the tabletop or on this battle map, campaign map pretty soon. So anyways, that's it. We'll talk to you later.